everyone, I'm Tashina from Logical Harmony. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about the 100% Pure Second Skin Foundation for dry skin. So I've used this foundation for years. It is an amazing foundation, but I have not had skin that is as dry as mine is now. Now that we've moved to a different climate, my skin is definitely dry, and I'm using that as an opportunity to try out a lot of my old favorite foundations to see how they work on my skin now. So previously I had combination skin with some dry patches. It was leaning on the dry side, but definitely wasn't full on dry. And today we're going to be testing this out. As always, everything in the video will be cruelty-free and vegan. If you guys want to learn more about cruelty-free beauty, welcome. You're in the right place. All the content on my channel is about cruelty-free beauty, and I also have a website, logicalharmony.net, where I have all sorts of resources for you. There's a cruelty-free brand list, shopping guides for all these different stores, vegan product lists for different cruelty-free brands, just so many resources. So let's get right into it because I bet you guys are curious about this foundation. So a few things I do want to say is that this is a foundation I've used for years on and off, and I have a lot of older content around 100% pure from like 2 and 3 years ago. And when I realized that that was the last time I had talked about this foundation, it seemed like a really good time to update it since my skin has changed. And you guys know this was like a foundation that I reached for all the time a couple of years ago. So if you guys have been around for a long time, you definitely remember this product, and I thought it'd be good to share. So 100% Pure did provide some of the products for this video. Just through working with them over the years, I've acquired a lot of their products, and they're one of my favorite brands. They're cruelty-free, nearly everything is vegan. They do a really great job of labeling all their vegan options in store, online, on product packaging. It's really, really great. Their skincare is super good, by the way. Definitely check that out if you're not sure where to start with 100% Pure. Skincare is a great place to do that. I am also in their affiliate program, and what that means is that when you use any of the links below, that does help keep Logical Harmony running. So I really appreciate when you guys use the affiliate links, and thank you so much for those of you that do. So real quick, I did want to talk about the claims of this foundation because I think that's always important to know, especially if you're not familiar with the product. So this is for normal skin types. It is medium to full coverage with the satin finish. And it's a serum foundation formulated with olive squalene, anti-aging oxidants, pure fruit pigments, and vitamins. So pure fruit pigments. So the fruit pigments thing is actually a really unique thing to 100% Pure. So they formulate all of their products using fruit pigments, which is super, super interesting. So like the mascaras, the lipsticks, the blushes, it's from fruit, which is really, really cool. They're definitely a brand to check out if you want very unique products because they do a lot of things like that are so different and so unique to them. And it's so interesting to hear about how they like formulate things and how they test them out. And yeah, they're a really, really cool brand. So it says it has adjustable coverage, a natural finish, and the look and feel of beautiful skin while delivering a noticeably brighter, more youthful appearance like nothing you've ever felt before. The skin perfecting formula is as healthy as it is luxurious. So it does give it, like the medium to full coverage. On their coverage chart, it's like halfway in between, and they say it's a satin finish. It does come in 7 shades right now, and they have definitely worked a lot on expanding their shade range. This foundation did go through like a reformulation, and new shades were picked for it, and they're definitely like more inclusive than they were before, which I think is good. And it's saying that olive squalene acts as a primer, so you don't need to use an additional primer. Shake well before use, dispense 3 to 4 drops onto back of hand, and use fingertips, brush, or sponge to apply evenly over the face. So if you guys are curious about this, just keep watching because I'm gonna demo it on my skin and then share my thoughts with you over time. Okay, I did already prime my face, and for that I used the 100% Pure Luminous Primer. If you guys have been watching my channel for a long time, you know this is one of my favorite primers. It's so good. It gives you a lot of luminosity. It's really moisturizing, and it works well with so many foundations. And for foundation today, I'm going to be using the Second Skin Foundation from 100% Pure in shade 3. You really want to shake this foundation. It is like a serum consistency, and it does come in a dropper bottle. So you really, really want to make sure that you shake this up because it does kind of separate as it sits. It's just part of the formula. And then this is also a foundation that in my experience, like less is more. You want to start with less. So I just take a little bit on my hand, and you guys notice it is kind of a watery formula. And I'm going to go in with my foundation brush and just dab that on. And I'm not gonna focus on blending right now. I'm just gonna apply it and figure out where I want it. This is a really good foundation too, I feel like, in the past of giving you good spot coverage. So you guys can see the difference in my hands already just from it being on there, and you blend it out. It is a little more serum-like, I feel like, than it used to be. So I'm just gonna press that in all over my face. And the shade is a tiny bit light for me right now, but that's okay. I'll just go in with some bronzer and bronze it up. They did change the shades from when this first launched. They're the same number, but they did kind of rework what they named them. And then they did change, I believe, some of the undertones as well, just based on customer feedback, which I think is really cool. I think it's really great when brands take customer feedback into account. And since this is a buildable foundation, I just wanted to start with the smaller amount and build it up. And you guys can see what is going on with my hair right now. And you guys can see that it does give really nice natural coverage, and this is a buildable foundation. So I'm gonna go ahead and look at that because I wanna see what just that one pump looks like on my skin. It looks really natural. It looks really skin-like, which is something I've always loved about this foundation. If you want a foundation that literally does look like your second skin, this is a great option. It's not too drying so far either. I think because of that primer being so hydrating, it's really, really helping. It is settling in a little bit in certain spots. I'm gonna go in and add a little bit more just for a little bit more coverage, and because I wanna see how this is gonna build up on my skin now that it's dry. When my skin was normal, it would build up no problem, but I'm curious now. So I'm gonna apply this just to the places where I want some extra coverage and where I really need it. And then I am gonna just buff it out again all over my whole face to make sure I have like a nice even blend. And I did notice before with this foundation that using a brush, I never had any sort of like lines from the bristles or anything like that. It just always blended really nicely, but you can definitely go over it with a beauty blender if you want. When you apply this with a beauty blender, it does have more sheer coverage than with a brush. So the brush is definitely the way to go if you want more coverage on your skin. The beauty blender or the 100% pure beauty sponge are great for the application if you want more of a sheer light coverage look. And they are going to make it look even more skin-like because it's going to be a lighter coverage. Let's keep patting that on. Okay, so in my mirror, it does look more textured now with that second layer. I'm gonna look at it close up. So it is definitely sticking to my dry areas right now. I have some really dry spots here on my cheeks. Like my cheeks and my chin right now are really dry, and it's definitely sticking more to those spots than anywhere else. And it does look a little bit flaky and a little bit patchy. So that is good to note. I feel like when my skin was not as dry, it didn't really do that as much. It would kind of settle in a little bit over time, but it didn't really stick to any parts of my dry skin. And now I feel like it is sticking for sure. It's not bad. It's not like, you know, it's a really drying foundation, but if you are going to use this with dry skin, I think it would be good to use a really moisturizing primer like I did, and to really take care with your skincare before you apply this. So I definitely did that as well. Since my skin is dry, I've been using so much more moisture and hyaluronic acid products just to help my skin retain the moisture. And I think that if I had not done that, if I had skipped some of my skincare steps, I think this would be actually pretty drying on my skin right now. Because my skin is dry, I'm not gonna set it. And this foundation has always like dried down really easily on its own. I've never felt like I needed to set it, if that makes sense. Like I'll set certain areas, but I've never felt like this is a foundation where like you have to set it, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply concealer, and I'm going to be using the Second Skin concealer in shades 2 and 3 because I'm not totally sure which shade I am right now. So I will be right back after I do that. Okay, now that I've applied my concealer, I have a few things about the foundation that I want to point out just as it sat on my skin a little bit longer. It's definitely sticking to my dry patches. I feel like overall it looks good. It looks very skin-like. It looks very natural. It has a nice dewy, natural finish to it. It is not really doing a great job of covering my redness. I feel like it's kind of bringing it out in some different areas of my face. Because my skin has been so dry lately, I've had way more red spots and red patches, and I feel like it covered up the red here really nicely, but here on my cheeks, I feel like it's bringing out redness that wasn't very, like it wasn't as there as much before. And I don't know if that's just like the undertone of the foundation changing. I do feel like it is oxidizing a little bit, and the original formula of this, I never felt like had any issues with oxidizing. Because the shade was a little bit light for me, that's working in my favor, and I'm I'm pretty happy with it. But I feel like it is definitely settling differently than it used to on my skin. And so I think that is good to point out. If you have dry skin, again, I think it's just all about your prep before this foundation. I am going to set parts of my face right now, and then I kind of want to see how the powder plays with it. So I'm going to be using the RCMA No Color powder and just applying that only to the places where I really need it. Okay, so I did apply the powder underneath my eyes and on my eyelids and around like my nose, my smile lines, and my chin, just places where I wanted to see if it would help just set things a little bit better, and places where I want the product to set more throughout the day. I feel like it kind of smoothed things out while at the same time accentuating my dryness. I don't really know of a better way to explain it. I do feel like as this is sitting longer, I can see more of the texture on my cheeks, and I can see more things coming through. So it's making me feel like I wish I had more coverage right here. I'm not sure how that's picking up on camera. And it might be something too where I notice it, but like no one else is going to. Like you're always your own worst critic. You always notice these more specific things about yourself. So I'm actually going to go finish up the rest of my makeup off camera, and then I'll be back because I want to see how this is progressing as it sits a little bit longer. Okay, so I did just finish up the rest of my makeup. Everything I used will be listed down below. It was all from 100% Pure, and just some of my like go-to favorites from them. I did use the Rose Gold palette, which is the first time you guys are seeing this on this channel. And now I'm just going to talk about what I've noticed about the foundation, because it has been a little bit since I applied it. I feel like it is not as luminous as I was used to. That said, it doesn't look bad. I think it still looks really good overall. It is definitely settling in more than it used to and just kind of sticking to my dry areas more. But I think if I had put like a little more primer, that might have counteracted that. Looking at it up close, now that it's had time to sit, overall the finish is better. I feel like it's melding with my skin a little bit more. That's something that I will say about 100% Pure products is I feel like as they warm up to your skin, they kind of like just fuse into it a little bit. And it feels like you really need to give them that time to work with your skin. And that's something that I've always noticed about their products. And honestly, it's something that I love about their products because it's like it just warms up to your skin. It melds in a little bit better. And you always kind of know that like how it looks when you first apply it, it's just gonna look a little bit better later on, which I think is a really good thing. So looking in my mirror, it looks good. I can still see where I have my dry spots, but I think it looks nice overall. It's definitely a more matte finish on me than it used to be, which is super interesting to see. Even on places where I didn't apply any powder, this foundation is much more matte than what I'm used to from it. So that's very, very interesting to me just to see the difference there. So I think I probably would have prepped it a little bit differently had I known that, but I haven't used this since we've moved and with my skin being dry. So I thought this was like a good experiment. I think it looks nice though. Like I really don't have many complaints about it. I feel like now that it's warmed up, it is settling into the dry areas more, but not more than like a lot of other foundations do in this climate, if that makes sense. So I feel like it is settling more into my dry areas and being a little more patchy in those areas, but no more so than a lot of other foundations meant for normal skin have been since we moved here. I don't really have like big complaints about that. It's not anything that to me is like a break it type of thing. I think the coverage of the foundation is really good. It feels very, very lightweight on my skin still. It doesn't feel drying and it doesn't feel dry. And I think that's really good to note. A lot of foundations that I previously loved and have tried now that I've moved and my skin is dry, they feel drying and they feel dry. And this one doesn't at all. I do think that the primer creates like a really nice moisture barrier for your skin and that like really locks moisture in there and gives you some added moisture as well. And so I think that is key to that. But even where I put it like on my hand, it still feels like a light serum consistency. It doesn't feel dry. It doesn't feel drying there. And honestly, I feel like the finish on my hand is really good too. The skin on my body has not been as dry as the skin on my face. And I feel like it's less dry looking there on my hand than it is on my face. And I think part of it is too, the blush in this palette is shimmery, which is not what I typically go for. And I think that might be part of what I'm seeing as well, is not even just the foundation, but just the other products too. I'm pretty happy with it though. Like I think overall it looks really nice. It feels really nice on the skin and I'm definitely going to keep using this. So if you guys are curious about this foundation and you have dry skin, leave some comments below and I'll make sure to answer your questions. I'm going to keep wearing this throughout the day, I think, and kind of just see where it goes from there. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you so much for joining me and I'll see you guys next time. Just hanging out with Juniper. If you guys want to see more of us, make sure you watch another video here. You can check out the vlog channel here and make sure you subscribe and make Juniper's day right here.